If you remember anything at all about this lesson, remember this. This is probably the most important thing to know when it comes to describing things clearly. If you can do this well, you should be able to describe anything you need to describe and put the idea of that thing very clearly in another person's mind. So this is it, okay? We're going to look at these 4 very simple sentences, and we're going to look at why it's bad, and then we're going to talk about how we can make it really clear. The first sentence of a description is really, really important. If you say the basic details of something much, much later when you're describing it, then people will be lost from the beginning, right? So we need to know how to say the most important simple details first, like the foundation of a house. Then we can build on that by adding things to it. For example, if we're telling a story, if you just say, and I was so scared because the horse jumped right over the fence and nearly crushed me, people will say, what horse? What fence? What's happening here? But if we set the scene, we say, set the scene. Where, when, what, who, what's going on here? Then people have a clear picture of, okay, you're here, it was this time, I know, how big the horse was and why you were in this place. Then you can say how you felt. Then you can explain more details about what happened, right? Then you can talk about your ideas or whatever, but you have to have that thing at the beginning. Okay, so let's look at these 4 sentences and talk about how we can do this, how we can set the scene and give the basic details first in our description. So, number 1, I have a car. It's a Ford. Ford is a brand of car. I think you probably know that. It has 4 doors, okay? It is yellow. It is yellow. It has a good stereo. The stereo is, stereo, by the way, if you don't know, is the sound system in the car, or when you have 2 speakers on left and on the right. Okay, this is not good, right? Because there's so many sentences, and each sentence only has really one piece of information, one thing to know, right? So it's not very good. It's better if we use one sentence, maybe 2, to say all the basic details we need at the beginning of a description. I would recommend you use one sentence. So rule number 1, use one sentence at the beginning of a description. Use one very clear sentence. Rule number 2 is use more than one adjective. More than one adjective. I'm going to write ADJ. That's a J. More than one adjective when you're describing something in front of your main noun. Okay, so just to be clear, adjectives, things like yellow, right? And we can make other adjectives to make it clear what we're talking about. We can use more than one, but we also need to know what our main noun is. So we have to choose a main noun and then put 3 or 4 adjectives in front of that to make it really, really clear what we're talking about and to give the other person a very clear picture, okay? So, more than one adjective, and 3 have a main noun. Okay, so we use one sentence, we use more than one adjective, and we have a main noun. Let's look at how we can do that with these sentences. Okay, so which of these can we turn into or use as adjectives for the main noun, and which is the main noun? Well, this sentence is not really necessary, so we can cancel it if Ford is our main noun, because Ford is a kind of car, right? So if we say Ford is our main noun, we don't need that. And maybe we can even add more information. Let's say this Ford is from, let's say it's from 1998, okay? Let's say it's 1998. That's an adjective. 1998 can be used as an adjective. Can be. Yellow. Obviously, yellow is an adjective. 4 doors. Can that be made into an adjective? Yes. If you have something like a 5-year-old child, right? A 5-year-old child or 5-year-old girl, for example, or a 32-page book, all you're doing there is adding a hyphen. It's a hyphen. It's called a hyphen. H-Y-P-H-E-N. Hyphen. And you're making it into an adjective. A 42-page book. A 5-year-old girl. 5-year-old girl. You're making new adjectives. So all we have to do to make this an adjective is take off S, because adjectives cannot be plural. Can't have yellows, for example. And we make it for-door. Four-door. So let's see what we can do. Main noun, Ford. Adjective, 1998. Four-door, adjective. Yellow, adjective. So we're going to use 3 adjectives here in front of the main noun. We could do 4, but let's use 3 for now. And then in the same sentence, we're going to put with, and then we're going to add something about the stereo. We can do the same thing with in, sometimes if we want to say the location. But this is all going to be one sentence. So let's try this. I have a yellow 4-door 1998 Ford. And if we wanted to say what type of car it is, maybe an SUV or a van or a truck, if it's a special type of vehicle, then that's your new main noun. So you'd say yellow 4-door 1998 Ford SUV. Now SUV is the main noun and Ford becomes like an adjective. It's used as an adjective, but let's just say Ford for now. I have a yellow 4-door 1998 Ford with a good stereo. Look at this, one sentence, and we have so much information. A yellow, very clear, 4-door, okay, got it. 1998, okay, kind of old. Ford, brand, got it. With a good stereo. I have a very clear picture now in my mind. I didn't need to make many sentences, and I say it right at the beginning, so now I can say something else about it. Now maybe I can tell a story about my 1998 car, my 1998 Ford. Right? I can tell a story because you started with this clear picture in your mind. The story will now make sense. So whatever we add after it is going to make more sense because the first sentence was extremely clear. Okay? This is the main idea. This is the most important thing to learn about description. If you can do this, choose your main noun, have several adjectives, 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5. If you can turn some things into adjectives, like 4-door, and you can use nouns as adjectives, like 1998, and Ford, if we want to say SUV. If you can do that, then you become a lot more powerful with your descriptions. And then you can add more stuff after it in the same sentence, with a good stereo. Now let's see if we can do this with a real picture. We're going to take a picture, and we're going to talk about how we can describe it clearly as part of a kind of story or the beginning of a story.